Should I, F17, break up with my boyfriend, M19, because he's constantly talking to the girl he used to like too long didn't read? The girl my boyfriend used to like is extremely clingy, and I'm really uncomfortable with this. Background story: my current boyfriend used to like another girl. She doesn't have any other friends other than my current boyfriend. My boyfriend had previously confessed his feelings to her, but she had turned him down, which I assume because she did not reciprocate the same feelings. Time skip to now. My boyfriend and I are currently having some relationship struggles, particularly over the girl he used to like. The thing that bothers me is the fact that she's constantly messaging, phoning, and snapping my current boyfriend. It bothers me a lot, to the point where I feel sad and sometimes even anger when her name is mentioned in a conversation. I don't blame him over it because it is somewhat my fault for being so sensitive and burdening him with my problems. But after what's happened in the past, multiple fights over said person, it's really left some trauma. My boyfriend, in no better ways to put it, is naive and nice. Can't see the perspectives of other people, or other girls' hidden intentions and motives. He's friendly to everyone, and this girl seems to be taking advantage of that. Like mentioned before, she has no friends, so one time when she had a stressful day, she called up my boyfriend at night and talked to him for 5 hours, venting about her day. The minor things she does is repeatedly messaging my boyfriend, asking about simple things like how to cook pork chops, and I understand she has no other friends, and my boyfriend and I feel pity towards her, but I also think that if I'm his girlfriend there should also be some line between friends and more. She seems to be crossing that easily and without hesitation. I confronted her about it, by telling my feelings to my boyfriend and having him ask her about it. I didn't want to straight up confront her, because I didn't want to ruin her and my boyfriend's friendship. It's not right of me, and it's not in my place, to ask of him to break contact with her since they've also been friends for years. She responded by saying something along the lines of, "No, your boyfriend and I are just friends," the classic response. "We haven't done anything together, and your boyfriend always prioritizes you over me. He calls you first and when you guys are done, it's my turn. So I don't think there's anything that your boyfriend and I could do to make you feel better." Frown. In all honesty, guys like many girls before they meet their so you just need to move on. I didn't even know how to respond. I'm at a loss of words. I feel like most people would say something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm sorry for making you feel this way. I'll try and back off from your boyfriend and stay in my lane." And maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but it seemed like she was giving off XOXO Gossip Girl vibes. I feel really sad over this, and even angry at some points, because it seems like she's crossing boundaries that I'm uncomfortable with. I've talked to my boyfriend to possibly limit interactions and connections with her, and he's doing his best and putting in his best efforts. He's definitely changed, and they've stopped talking as much, but there are times where it just feels like she's super clingy and being a leech. I definitely have some form of trauma from previous fights with him, so maybe I'm just overthinking and overanalyzing. And I did talk to my boyfriend about this several times, and many fights have ensued. But my boyfriend's opinion of this is that I'm being controlling and he feels like he's walking on eggshells around me. Understandable, because sometimes when he mentions her name in conversations, I get mad at him for bringing her up when we were talking about something casual. But I can't help it. It's just how I feel. My boyfriend and I are stumped about coming up with a solution that benefits both of us. Well, the other chick is right. You should move on, and leave both of them to sort out whatever the hell is going on between them. Interacting with her is obviously more important to him than your feelings are. Why is it all her fault and not his? Yes, Op keeps saying she calls and talks to him for 5 hours when it takes 2 to have even a monologue on the phone. He knows exactly what Op feels, and it's simply more convenient for him to seem ignorant/naive about it. The only conversation Op needs is about her relationship boundaries with her boyfriend. If he's cool with his GF potentially having an intimate friendship with another dude, then they have different values and boundaries, so move on, Op. If he wouldn't be cool with it, he's a hypocrite, and again, move on. But my boyfriend's opinion of this is that I'm being controlling and he feels like he's walking on eggshells around me. He's enjoying the attention and doesn't want to change. If I was in your situation, I would strongly consider walking away and leaving them to it. 5-hour conversations? That's nonsensical. Even when my husband and I were at our most slushy loved up romantic stage, we never did that. Should I, F17, break up with my boyfriend, M19, because he's constantly talking to the girl he used to like? Yes. This is unfortunately pretty common and I will never understand the reasoning behind it. The stress you are going to go through will be lifted as soon as you end this. It's relieving, trust me. You are going to have relationships that are going to be harder to end because there are issues that can't be understood or seen. This is a pretty easy one to end, emo. I wouldn't put this all on the girl, while your BF there is refusing to put boundaries between him and this girl. He's just enjoying all the attention. Please move on from this asshole. My boyfriend, 32/M, thinks he is entitled to act however he wants. If I, 29/F, don't stop talking when he wants me to. Help, we've been together for a few years and live in the same apartment. We have a serious problem when it comes to arguments, and I need to know if I'm being unreasonable in my request. Basically, whenever he decides a conversation we're having is over, he says I'm done talking about this. I need 30 minutes to myself and walks away. It doesn't matter whether we're having a totally civil conversation or a heated one, it seems as though, as soon as I say something he doesn't like, he says I'm done and walks away. When he does this, I'm expected to not continue talking, and I feel like this is unfair to me. I feel like he uses it as a way to shut down 90% of conversations unilaterally. Sometimes I'll let him be, but sometimes I am upset because we'll have been having a perfectly civil discussion about something that hurt one of our feelings or something we'd like to have the other person do or whatever else. In these cases, I will walk after him and say that I'm not finished with what I was saying yet. Try to keep talking and he gets extremely agitated and usually resorts to yelling at me and cursing, slamming his hand down on things near him, etc. He says I'm trapping him. Eventually, I give up and leave, but this really hurts me. I've talked to him about this before, and his response is that if I refuse to stop talking whenever he declares the conversation is stopped, he can no longer control his behavior and therefore yelling/cursing/whatever else is to be expected. I don't agree with this at all. Even if I don't comply by the rule he sets, does that mean I'm entitled to be screamed at? And why does he get to unilaterally decide when the conversation is over? He insists that the healthy thing to do is stop talking and, although yelling is not ideal, he will continue to do it because I'm not giving his space. I am very open to the idea that I am wrong about this, and I need an objective opinion. Thank you. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend thinks it's to be expected that he yells and curses at me if I don't comply when he declares a conversation is over. If you don't come back to the topics after 30 minutes, then yes, he's just using it to avoid talking. But generally when someone asks for space, give it to them. Everyone manages stress differently. Also, anyone that yells and curses at you is an asshole and needs to be dumped forthwith. He can no longer control his behavior and therefore yelling/cursing/whatever else is to be expected. This is a huge problem. If he thinks this is true, and he can't control himself when you do something he doesn't like, that's a major red flag. It's also a problem if this is just a rationalization he's using to try and manipulate you into silence when he doesn't want to have to hear you out. No matter how you slice it, this is not a healthy or reasonable position. Neither of you should be holding the other person hostage, not you, holding him in a conversation he wants to leave, and not him, holding you to rules that leave you miserable and unheard. If you want to make this last, I'd strongly suggest counseling. There is a real breakdown of trust here, and you two need some agreements on how you fight. Not rules he makes that you must obey, but mutual agreements about how and when disagreements are paused or ended. Either of you are completely right here, but he's wrong in some ways that are extra concerning. He can 100% control this. Does he do this shit at work? No? Then he's full of shit. Needing to pause an argument once in a while is one thing, but doing this every time there is conflict is a sign he is unable to navigate conflict. And therefore he may not be mature enough to be in a relationship. My partner and I hit pause when things get heated, but things rarely get heated. If he is flooding every time you have even a civil conflict, he does not have the emotion regulation skills needed to be in a relationship. That is not your fault, and you can't fix it. You can only choose to either accept him as is or leave the relationship. If he manages to not do this with anyone but you, then the issue isn't his conflict management/emotion regulation. More likely, he's figured out he can manipulate/control you this way, and it's abusive behavior. Sadly, I suspect this may be the case since he has weaponized the language of therapy in your arguments. This is a pretty advanced abuser move. If he is abusive, couples therapy can actually make things worse. If you suspect this is what's going on, check out loveisrespect.org and please consider getting your own therapist, and getting some distance from this relationship. You do not deserve to be yelled at for simply wanting to talk to your partner rather than be sent to the quiet corner like a naughty child. I think it's perfectly reasonable to call a timeout, with a firm end, and then finish a discussion after. I also think it's okay to end some, more opinion/trivial, conversations with "it's obvious we have different opinions and I don't want this conversation to become a fight over something stupid, so let's change the subject." People process differently. If I have asked someone for a timeout or to drop it and have tried to remove myself from the situation but they keep needling me, I tend to scream at them because I need time to process and that boundary is not being respected. And yelling loud enough that the other person shuts up long enough that I can get away from them is honestly not helpful, but neither is stomping over someone else's boundaries. Feeling unworthy of my highly educated boyfriend, 21F21M. Too long didn't read, BF is educated, I'm not. I'm feeling shitty because of it. I flunked uni at 17, and have been working since then. I can fully sustain myself, but something's not enough. A lack of education has been eating away at my self-esteem for so long. I feel stupid and unworthy compared to my colleagues, friends, and especially BF. BF is in his last year of uni, specializing in IT. His uni is one of the top ones nationwide. He's making good money working in IT too. He's so smart, kind, attractive, while his GF is a dropout and failure. I'm so afraid that he will see me as I am, an unaccomplished, untalented loser. I know I'm not worthy of this relationship. Please help. What should I do? How to change this thinking? You are sabotaging yourself and your relationship. He clearly loves you. He wants to be with you. Your education and perceived intelligence has nothing to do with those two facts. The only way to defeat this sabotage is to learn how to love yourself. Focus on the parts of yourself that you like rather than the parts you don't. If you find yourself fixating on parts you don't like, that's your trigger to remind yourself of something you do like. Turn negatives into positives. It takes a lot of work to change your thinking. You need to realize that the inner voice telling you you're not good enough is a result of anxiety, self-hate, and possibly depression. It's not what you actually are. That inner voice is not you. You are in complete control about how you feel. It just takes a lot of self-correction to get there.